Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, number one, get well, Rudy Giuliani. Mayor Giuliani in the hospital. It's serious. However, I'm told that it's less serious than yesterday. I mean, it's still serious, but he's doing better than yesterday. Rudy Giuliani, who's, what is he now, 81, 82, and, it's, he had some 9/11 exposure, of course. Look, greatest mayor ever, right? Bottom line, totally. I became enamored with Rudy Giuliani back when he was a U.S. attorney, hero prosecutor, superstar. I mean, and it was like, okay, when will this guy be president? Not if, but when. That's how much star power the guy had, exuded integrity, effectiveness, just an all-around amazing guy. When he became mayor, it was kind of almost a step down, to be honest. I mean, a lot of us who were big fans thought he could go right to the U.S. Senate, and that would be a small prelude before the presidency. You know, New York City mayor, kind of a local job, not exactly the fast track to be president. Anyway. Turned out to be totally spectacular, right? I mean, just could not have been better. He was the man for the job. Totally, just kind of helped revolutionize some things. Of course, yes, he had some brand new cops that Ray Kelly and some others provided, and also the crime fighting was already off to a hot start. But look, 9/11 especially. I mean, Rudy could sometimes be his own worst enemy when he was mayor, right? Antagonistic, getting into fights that he probably didn't have to get into. And I remember it was a week before 9/11 that they were writing his political obituary. There was a big headline in the Daily News, "Oh, Rudy's crumbling world. Rudy's crumbling world." And they had this nasty picture of him. It was 1 week before 9/11. And then, my gosh, he was, the word is overused and misused, but empathetic, right? He was feeling our pain. He was also leading. He was making decisions. It's Rudy Giuliani. I remember watching this. It was 2:38 p.m. That afternoon. I was at the downtown Beekman Hospital waiting for casualties who would never arrive. I was a reporter at the time for New York One News. I had met Rudy Giuliani many times, starting in high school. And we were big fans. And then he became a great friend. Rudy Giuliani on 9/11. Cut 12, please. Cut 12.
Today is obviously one of the most difficult days in the history of the city and the country. The tragedy that we're all undergoing right now is something that we've had nightmares about, but probably thought wouldn't happen. My heart goes out to all of the innocent victims of this horrible and vicious acts of terrorism. And our focus now has to be on saving as many lives as possible.
Do we know the number of casualties at this point, sir?
I don't think we really want to speculate about that. The number of casualties will be more than any of us can bear ultimately. And I don't think we want to speculate on the number of casualties. The effort now has to be to save as many people as possible.
There have also been reports of large loss of life among the police and firemen who were sent there to rescue people. How accurate are those reports?
There is no question that we lost police officers and firefighters, and some that I know personally, and all of us here know personally, that we're very worried about.
Thank you, sir.
So, for some people, it was like, wow, here we're listening to Rudy Giuliani unfiltered, no media filter. We hear what he's saying. We hear the context of what he's saying. We're actually listening. It's amazing. It's amazing how the media lies and distorts. And then he could speak directly not only to New Yorkers, but Americans everywhere and people all over the world. Became a true global leader in the best sense. And, here's something for Zoran Mondami, because if, God forbid, Mayor, well, I don't want to even think about it. I think he's going to make it. I really do, based on what I've heard. And for those people who make assumptions, wrong assumptions, this is also Mayor Giuliani on 9/11. Let's see here. Go ahead with cut 11, please. Cut 11.
Just the opposite. They will receive extra protection.
Go to the top of that again. What the question was: are you worried about Arab Americans being targeted? And because at that point, that night, we knew Osama bin Laden, we knew Afghanistan, we knew the names of the hijackers, and so are you anticipating any kind of hate toward Muslims in New York? And this is something that I guess Mamdani never heard, knew, or appreciated, because he's just so foolishly prejudiced against pretty much everybody who's not like him. Anybody who tries to harass, Arab Americans or anything like that. We didn't see that in this city. Whatever lies Mamdani tells, right, for political benefit. His remember that phony story about his aunt and the hijab? Felt tense on the train. So there's something else, though, that I want to highlight here. For all of the things that Rudy Giuliani did for this city and this country, I think his finest hour was standing up when it was not popular to do so, at least with the media elites and the establishment and Democrats and even Republicans, when he stood up and pushed for election integrity. The easy thing to do, right, would be to just roll over. Okay, this is what the establishment wants. The election was the best we ever had in history, 2020, the most secure election in history. How the hell could you not laugh when you hear that? By definition, it wasn't secure. You had ballot boxes in the middle of the street, right? You could drop your ballot in an unattended box. It was just crazy. And Rudy was fantastic. He wasn't afraid to fight for the truth. And so many people, his life would have been easier. He wouldn't have been arrested. He was arrested, for crying out loud, in Georgia. The man was arrested. Man was arrested in Arizona. And you know what? I think I'm going to find something here for you guys. Rudy Giuliani left he left somebody a voicemail. He left somebody a voicemail. Hey, this is Rudy Giuliani. I hope you can give me a call back. I'd love to talk to you about the election. That was one of the counts against him. Like in furtherance of the conspiracy. You're allowed to call people on the phone and say, you know what? I think you had a bogus election, and you really should know your options at this point, because not many of you people do. And by you people, I mean state lawmakers in Arizona, Pennsylvania, and beyond. They didn't understand what the hell the whole system was about. And this is back, and I got to know Rudy. Well, real quick, let's go ahead and play Mayor Giuliani from that hearing. Just send it to you guys. Where he's just pointing out, hey, who's really calling the shots on these elections? And state lawmakers did not know. They did not know what they should have known. Go ahead and hit that if you don't mind, please.
Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors. It's the state legislature that controls this process. It's your power. It's your responsibility.
You see the faint applause. They didn't really know or appreciate that they had, according to the U.S. Constitution. They also didn't know that it was their responsibility if the law was being broken. And the law was being broken in places like Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, according to the state constitution, you got two ways to vote. You got absentee with excuse and in person. And then they started dropping off ballots all over the place. They said you could vote here, you can vote at the 7-Eleven, you can do anything you want. But they didn't change the law. They certainly didn't change the Constitution. All that stuff was illegal. And he went there to make that case. And he did it brilliantly. But people lied about him. And, look, I understand Rudy sometimes will tell you he doesn't speak in sound bites. That's never really been his thing. And the more they mocked him, the more they outed themselves as liars and fools, the media. I remember once he couldn't believe how stupid Chris Cuomo was, how absolutely stupid he was. He didn't understand anything. And Rudy Giuliani understandably got kind of frustrated with him. And yeah, did his eyes look a little bit bulgy? Who wouldn't, talking to Chris Cuomo, trying to explain the world to that guy? I actually told Rudy that, one day I believe that you will receive the Medal of Freedom in the East Room of the White House. And this is during the dark years, during the Biden administration back in 2021, 2022. Spent a lot of time with the mayor, got to know him very well here in this studio. Also in his home in Palm Beach. We anchored shows together. We appeared as guests on each other's programs, and we would just talk a lot. And I so appreciated him, and I think he kind of appreciated me. He was very quite supportive of what I was doing and the content I was generating. And I just hope he's going to be okay. All right. Let's see. Anything else to say? And of course, Rudy Giuliani on 9/11, leading when George W. Bush was hiding. We needed a leader, and we got it. We had it. A lot of people were surprised. He said and did the right thing. He was everywhere all at once, right? It seemed like he never slept. And, his family paid a big price. Big price. Andrew Giuliani, a great young man. But you can't be a typical dad when you are revolutionizing a city, And the son and daughter, he had to share his father with the city and with the country, and that can be tough. But he's doing great, and I know everybody wants Rudy to get better. Hey, how about this? John Sterling is dead. The great, legendary radio announcer at the age of 87 is it? Let's see here. Cut 19, please. The voice.
Here's the 1-1. Ground ball to short. Volpe fields, throws to first in time. Ball game over. American League Eastern Division over. Yankees win. Yankees win.
Sometimes he did the a little bit longer than others. Got to know him around here at WABC. Very interesting man. Great broadcaster. Anybody check on Susan Walden? I know that they were very, very tight. Let's see here. So he became the Yankees play-by-play announcer in 1989, spent 36 years in the position, calling 5,060 consecutive games, plus 211 more in the postseason, until he missed his first game in July of 2019. Wow. 5,631 Yankees games, including 8 World Series appearances by the time he retired in 2024. Yes, the voice of the Yankees. I didn't realize that he was, wow. Married to Jennifer Sterling for 12 years. They had 4 children, Abigail and triplets, Veronica, Bradford, and Derek. The job was a childhood dream for Sterling. He grew up on Manhattan's Upper East Side, Yankees fan, listening to games on the radio and trying to learn from broadcasters of all types. I am a very blessed human being, he said. When he announced his retirement, I've been able to do what I wanted, broadcasting for 64 years. As a little boy growing up in New York as a Yankees fan, I was able to broadcast the Yankees for 36 years. Well, good for him. I had no idea he had that kind of streak. Puts Lou Gehrig. I mean, what did Lou Gehrig had? Well, Lou Gehrig had 2,000. This guy's got 5,000. Probably easier to do the 5,000 than the 2,000, but if he gets in that chair and it shoots life through him, said Yankees manager Aaron Boone. He's at home when he's in his office. It's a remarkable career to be able to do it like that, and as long as he did it, he's left quite a mark on the Yankees team and the game of baseball. And it was really great to have you around here. John Sterling. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. Greg Kelly. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's a particular honor to receive the Donald J. Trump Award, not only because he's one of our great presidents, who will be one of our great presidents, but also...
Yeah, I can barely hear that. You can barely hear that. Let's try this one. Let's try cut 3. This is Rudy Giuliani at the Madison Square Garden in 2024. Cut 3.
We gather here today in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. And this is the most iconic venue of venues in the United States. This is where a Republican's not supposed to come, which is why Donald Trump came here. There's no place in America the president shouldn't be able to come.
All right. Hey, the other thing, some people say Rudy, he got crazy there at the end. No, he didn't actually. He didn't. He got better. They look at this and that, and the establishment turned on him, right? And then they allowed themselves, because they're so naive and gullible and silly, and they lack bravery, right? They lack bravery. Especially the lawyers, they don't stand up for what's right. They're always worried about billable hours and clients and, just not whatever you do, don't get involved. Oh boy. Yeah. Keep your head down and just work. Little worker bees. Now that's not what Rudy did. The idea that Rudy Giuliani was disbarred is just so disgusting to me. That man, lawyer of the year, the American Bar Association. Hey, where are those guys who, made their bones in Rudy's office? Huh? Guys like Michael Chertoff and John Savarese. They still sit around and tell stories about the days, that they were tough guy prosecutors working for Rudy Giuliani. But where were they when he needed them or could have used their help? Like in that sham bar meeting where they kicked him out. Sham. Total sham. Disgusts me, to this day, that happened. Also in Washington, D.C. Well, anyway, you know what? This is kind of cool, though. I think Rudy's going to make it, but I always told Rudy how I felt. He knew how I felt. All right? Always. Let's just see here. All right, so what else? Do you know the thing in Iran? We have not dropped a bomb on Iran since April 7th, and they haven't fired any missiles at us since April 7th. April 7th is like almost a month ago. Hello, that's kind of a long time ago. I keep hearing about, this war's gone on. Not really. The shootings stopped on April 7th. Now, there is some word of a skirmish. However, it seems like it might be some misinformation. We don't know for sure, but they're marching onward, hopefully for peace. They're talking again. And I am just a little bit, getting over it. People complaining about high gas prices. Oh, could you see these high gas prices? Well, number one, God forbid we should sacrifice, right? God forbid. The way they portray the American people on the news, just a bunch of complaining babies, right? Always upset about something. Always upset, always getting the shaft. John F. Kennedy, his inaugural speech. Anybody remember, or you've heard about it over the years? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. What a concept. What a concept. Every time I sit there, the gas prices. Well, the gas prices were actually higher under Joe Biden in 2022, which was, guess what? The midterm elections, and Democrats gained seats, right? They gained a whole mess of seats. It was supposed to be a blowout. No, they gained in the House. I think they gained in the Senate. it was just like bizarro world, right? Everything was going bad, but they pretended everything was going great. And I guess sometimes I'm like, it's just the fake news. What difference does it make? Everybody knows they're fake. No, a lot of people actually listen to those dudes. They need to be listening to guys like Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary. The guy's awesome. Now, he's also very stylish. I'm not going to dwell on that. Cut 5, please. No, sorry. Cut 15. Scott Bessent on the morning shows. Listen to people like this. Not people like Martha Raddatz, that little worrywart, that pretend worrywart. I watched the Sunday show yesterday on ABC News, and they didn't have one word about the assassination attempt on President Trump, which happened the previous Saturday night. I still think that's a pretty big deal. Don't you? Still, no. And why? Because you know what? It makes Trump possibly look like, hey, brave. It makes him a lot of things, and they don't want to talk about that. Can we wait that long? I think we can. This is just the doom and gloom nonstop from our dominant media, from the establishment, anything, and it doesn't matter. Donald Trump's poll numbers are 37, 39%. When weren't they? Right? Except on election day. Somehow he pulls it off. Somehow it's never as bad as they say. Cut 16, please. Cut 16.
Attacks from Iran has closed the strait. We are reopening it. So I would urge the Chinese to join us in supporting this international operation. There are things moving through the UN that China and Russia have blocked. So, if they want to be good global citizens, join at the UN.
When this summit was originally scheduled, we were not at war with Iran, and now we are, and it was punted about a month's time. What would be your expectation from a summit in Beijing next week?
I think the expectation is it will be a chance for President Trump and Xi Jinping to exchange views in person. The strength of the relationship is the relationship between the two leaders. In Busan, South Korea, in October, we established a consensus, and the Vice Premier, Ho Li-Feng, and I are charged with implementing that on the economic side. The Secretary Rubio and their Foreign Secretary, on the political side. So I think we would push forward the consensus from Korea and also keep the relationship stable. We've had great stability in the relationship, and again, that comes from the two leaders having great respect for each other.
Well, I'll go with this guy, and not the hysterical fake news. One more from our Treasury Secretary. You know what I'd like to do is take out a dollar bill and look at his signature on my money. But I don't carry cash anymore. Who does? I wish I did. It's always gosh, when it comes time to tip, I feel like such a jerk. I got to get some cash with me at all times. I always got to have cash with you. Good for you. All right. I'm feeling very optimistic, and I'm just not going to give in to the negativity. Something else about President Trump. Positive, positive, positive. You can overcome anything. Your mind, positive thinking. Too many of us wallow in the negativity through our damn cell phones. It really, you can't fall for it. Don't let them win. They want us feeling checked out and reliant, right? And it's something else about Rudy, by the way. I've never really seen him get down, in the middle of it all, in the middle of a crisis. He keeps his spirit. And as a matter of fact, this is a beautiful, back when the fake news loved him, right? Back before they totally lost their mind. So, leadership, you heard that, right? Lead by example, integrity. There's a lot more that goes into it, and he exuded all of it. Endurance, unselfishness, loyalty, knowledge, justice, judgment, initiative, enthusiasm. What else? Dependability, decisiveness, bearing, all of it, courage. And he showed every leadership trait you can think of. Rudy Giuliani, I know he's going to pull through this, and we'll be right back.
Greg Kelly on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I was oblivious to the Kentucky Derby, and a big surprise win, right? You want to hear the race? I actually haven't heard it. Cut 8, if you don't mind. This is the Kentucky Derby. I've been to Louisville, or as they say it there, Louisville. It's Louisville. They got that crazy hotel, the Seelbach Hotel. Very, very nice place. And I don't have much else to say about Kentucky, other than they got the Derby there. Now, is the trainer a woman, also the jockey? It sounds like it's a different job. Did you notice some of the other lame names? Litmus test? Emerging markets? Oh, come here, little emerging markets. Yes, oh, litmus test. I love you. You want some sugar? You want a carrot? That's not a good name for a horse. Golden Tempo is even a little bit off, right? There's something a little bit... all right, now here's the person talking about it. Now, I need to know, is this the jockey or is this the trainer or both? Cut 9, please. Cut 9.
Rita Vo is with nephew Maverick, daughter Reagan, husband David, sister Adrian, and for you, family is everything. This race has been everything. You're the first woman to train the winner of a Kentucky Derby winner. breathe it in and try and tell me how it feels.
I don't even have any words right now. I just can't. Just so happy for Golden Tempo. Jose did a wonderful job, masterful job at getting him there. He's so far out of it, and he has had so much faith in this horse. And I want to say thank you to the team of St. Elias and Phipps Stable for giving me the opportunity to be here.
This is a great historic ownership stable who have so much history in this race. You're breaking history today. What does that mean to you?
I honestly don't know. I'm glad that I could be a representative of all women everywhere, that we can do anything we set our minds to.
Here. And you've been a fantastic tribune for that these last few years. When you were watching the early stages of the race, Cherie, he was dead last. What was going through your mind?
I was actually more focused on the pace that was in front of him. There was plenty in front. And I was just hoping Jose would work a trip out when they all started coming back to him at the top of the stretch.
Congratulations. Women can't do everything. Why didn't she ride the horse? Some guy named Jose did it. A man won that race. No, sorry. I don't know enough about racehorsing, but good for her. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. The other thing we got going here is the great big governor's race in California. Whatever happened to Swalwell? Nobody talks about that guy anymore. I thought he was under investigation. The FBI, the accusers, the women. He got out of the race. That's all they cared about. Get that man out of the race and everything else is going to be fine. Ooh, I almost forgot to tell you guys. I interviewed the astronauts, all 4 of them. And let's see if we can grab that, if you don't mind, from Friday, okay? It was a wonderful conversation. I met the Reed Wiseman, the commander. I met the pilot, Victor Glover. I met Christina Koch, mission specialist, and Jeremy Hansen, mission specialist from Canada. And I got to tell you, I'm very proud of this interview because I have a feeling that they were getting a little bit sick of interviews, right? And quite frankly, people from television ask dopey questions. They're just, most of them are too busy looking at themselves in the mirror to sit around and wonder about anything that actually was cool or doesn't have to do with them. And I could just tell they had the questions were interesting. You know, an interview like that, you just sit down, no interview is pure, right? I mean, a lot of times there are questions that you have to ask that are news-related questions. Then there are questions that you think you should ask. And then there are questions you think the audience wants you to ask. And then there are questions that you think will possibly help you on social media. And then there are questions that you think actually might win over the guest, or maybe you don't want to win over the guest. Maybe you want to antagonize the guest, and maybe you're fearful of their social media following. Could that be sicked upon you if you don't treat this right? I'm telling you, there's all kinds of crazy hoops that most people jump through when it comes time to sit down and interview. And unfortunately for most of them, the truth is not on the agenda. Okay, it can be a very selfish thing. But for me, this was absolutely pure. I just said, all right, what do I want to know? What are the genuine questions I want to know the answer to? And I came up with a list. And I think they liked it. I know they liked it. But that, quite frankly, wasn't the objective. Although I did want them to have a good time. And I did not want them to be bored. Right? These astronauts, they're brilliant. They're just totally brilliant. Hey, one little thing I got right. Their names. You'd be surprised how many people botch their names. I didn't need a piece of paper or a note card or anything like that. I knew each of their names. I knew how to pronounce their names. You'd be surprised how often that gets botched. And it's a beautiful conversation that I'm just so proud of. I'm going to go ahead and put it up online. We'll also try to get it back once we come back from the break. I think you're going to like it. Is it true that the mayor is really going to boycott the Israel parade? Is this a real thing? Cut 5, please. Cut 5.
Every year in about May or June, there's a wonderful event in New York called the Celebrate Israel Parade or the Israel Day Parade. Invariably, at the front of the parade, you have the mayor of New York, you have other politicians, governors, and so on. The parade it's a wonderful day. People march up Fifth Avenue.
Yes,
you have children from a lot of the yeshivas and school, all kinds of schools. You have non-Jewish supporters of Israel. I think I've read that you had something like 100,000 people marching and like a million people watching the parade, or watching this parade. It started in 1964 when Mayor Wagner was the mayor of New York. He marched in it from the first. President Lyndon Johnson sent his daughter to march in it. Zero Mostel.
I didn't know any of that.
Zero Mostel marched in it.
It's a huge deal.
And every single mayor of New York has marched in the parade.
Except
Mamdani is saying that he won't. And by the way, in his 2021 demonstrations, and there were several in addition to him appearing with this horrible group within our lifetime, he criticized the politicians and the officials who march in the Israel Day Parade.
Well, he doesn't like Israel, and he doesn't like Jews. It's not because there's a scheduling conflict or anything like that. The parade is the parade. It's really more important the horrible positions that he holds. Now, you could get away with just focusing on local, but this is part of his thing, sticking it to Israel and sticking it to the Jews. What a bad situation we're in. All right, stand by, 800-848-9222. I mean, in terms of mayors and that kind of thing, and as Rudy is in health trouble, just think about what we have now, huh? What a disgrace. Be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Sacco and Felix, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFilas.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.